Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this webinar about our newest program, New Music Inc. My name is Scott Winship. I'm the Director of Grant-Making Programs here at New Music USA. We are joining you from the unceded lands of the Lenape people, otherwise known as New York City. So thank you for joining us. I am joined on the call by my colleagues in the Grants and Programs Department, Manisha Chowdhury and Krista Ebert. We are also joined by the wonderful folks from Sign Nexus, our ASL interpreters, Christine and Blair, and Bonnie is our captioner. So thank you for joining us. What will happen on our call today? We have a lot to cover. So what we'll do is we're going to go over the guidelines and the application and try to dig into the program a bit more to handle whatever questions you might have. Speaking to that, if you do have questions, please try to use the Q&A section on the website instead of the chat function. The Q&A section is a little bit better for us, so I appreciate that. We will take pauses to answer questions as we go along, and we should hopefully have some time at the end to capture and answer questions. We'll probably do a mixture of answering live, but also via the chat as well. If we run out of time and somehow missed your somehow missed your question, it is being captured here, and so we will answer that, and all the answers to those will be posted along with this video to our YouTube channel. So we're recording this session. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel within a few days after this call. So, right. Switch slides, Manisha. We covered that. So New Music Inc. is a continuation of our commitment to small artist-led organizations. It's an updated version of our New Music Capacity Building program that we've begun in 2020 in New York City, and it aligns with our organization-wide goal of forging and reinforcing connections across geographic, aesthetic, and cultural divides. Thanks to the generous funding from the New York Community Trust, the Walder Foundation, and in part by grants from the Robert W. Deutsch Foundation and the Jacob and Hilda Blaustein Foundation, we've been able to launch new iterations of this program in New York City, Chicago, and Baltimore. So as I said, the overview of the program, we're going to talk a little bit just briefly about the program. We'll talk about what happens in each location, the eligibility and review criteria, application requirements, and then some of the things that happen after the application happens. All right, go ahead and switch, Manisha. So New Music Inc. is an incubator program that helps small budget artist-led new music groups and organizations. Currently, we have funding for New York City, Chicago, and Baltimore. We hope that the program is an opportunity for groups to generate new ideas, strategies, and collaborations at pivotal stages in the development, and that's important. We want to capture groups at pivotal stages in their development. Next slide. So the program provides not only financial support, but also 12 to 18 months of hands-on skill building in a cohort environment, which is intended to foster collective learning and collaboration. So those hands-on skill buildings will be a series of cohort learning sessions, as well as opportunities to engage with a peer advisor or mentor in your city. Also, each city, there will be a locally based program coordinator who will help facilitate the program and also be working very closely with the awardees for the program and helping them to reach their goals. So the program will explore themes and challenges that are identified by those participating in the program in collaboration with New Music USA and our program coordinators. Themes often include things like fundraising, marketing and PR, audience development. So these will be these will be themes that come out of the conversations that you have. They might come from the application or challenges that you're facing as an organization currently, and things that you want to work towards through the program. Next slide. So we're going to do a quick poll to see where people are joining us from if you're in one of our 3 cities. Maybe.
I'm sorry, it's not letting me launch it. I'm trying right now. Let me try one more second. Thank you. Oh, because the test poll was still disregard this really quick, and then I will be able to share this one. There we go. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, great. We have representations from all 3 cities. That's great. Let's see. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Good to see everyone here. Thank you again for joining us. So who can apply to New Music Inc? We are looking for applications from small budget music organizations that could include performance groups, ensembles, collectives, recording labels, festivals, presenters, venues, or more. An important point is that we're looking for small budget organizations, so those that have a budget under $250,000. That is our cap. So we will be looking for organizations under that amount. Applicant organizations can be based in any borough in New York City or in Chicago or Baltimore. And applicants must confirm their ability to commit to the program activities. We'll talk a little bit about what that looks like a little bit later during the proposed time frame. Again, that's a 12 month to 18-month program window that we're running the program through. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So a summary a bit, I talked just briefly about it earlier, but just to let you know, a summary of the activity is that there will be flexible, it's a flexible program meant to meet the needs of the selected groups. So the grantees will receive unrestricted financial support in order to implement organizational plans that they design. So these will be like work plans or strategic type plans that you would design in consultation with New Music USA and program coordinators. These are going to be goals that you are hoping to achieve through the course of the program. We will also be providing each participant with a mentor or an advisor, a peer-to-peer person who might be able to help them throughout the program and help them implement their plans. There'll be a number of meetings, opportunities for discussions and meetings with these folks once awarded. And then the content, as I mentioned, for the learning sessions will be dictated by the participating organizations. So what comes out of the development of the organizational plan or strategic plan will then inform how we develop the cohort learning sessions. So topics that are most relevant to the participants will then become the cohort learning sessions, where we'll bring in speakers and experts in those areas to discuss the topics with the organizations involved. And then program details are different from each city. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Krista, who will take it from here.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. So a lot of the things are similar in each city, but some are slightly different. So I'm going to give you the details of each place. In Baltimore, the program details, we've secured funding for 8 organizations to participate. The program activities are for 12 months. So there's a 12-month commitment. And then there's a $6,000 grant for general support. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the program details, if you're a selected group, you're going to receive the opportunity to develop a strategic plan for your organization. You're going to be guided by the program coordinator to set clear goals and objectives. And as Scott mentioned, there's cohort learning sessions, and this one there's 6. And this will help you grow knowledge and skills. 2 of those are going to be in person and 4 are virtual. And the topics, again, are dictated by the participants, and the goal is to meet the needs that are expressed by the members of the cohort. The learning sessions that will begin in September of 2023, and you can expect it to be about a 2-hour meeting approximately every other month through July of 2024. Another program detail are check-ins. So there's 4 one-on-one check-ins with the program coordinator. There's also peer-to-peer feedback that you'll get from other arts professionals in Baltimore. And then lastly is the opportunity to collaborate and exchange with other cohort members in the other cities. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in Chicago, there will be 12 organizations that engage in the program. This is an 18-month commitment for the activities. The program activities last that long, and it comes with an $8,000 grant for general support. And just a heads up, that will arrive to you in 2 installments over the 18-month period. Next slide, please. And the program details, again, are similar but slightly different. So I just want to give you all of the information. You'll have an opportunity to develop a strategic plan with the program coordinator, Corey, and set clear goals and objectives. There's 8 cohort learning sessions in Chicago. That's 2 in person and 6 virtual. And again, the topics are dictated by the participants, and they're meant to meet the needs expressed by the members of the cohort. These learning sessions will begin in September. And again, it's a 2-hour meeting that runs approximately every other month through October of 2024. There's also 4 one-on-one check-ins with the program coordinator. There's peer-to-peer feedback from the other arts professionals in Chicago. That's the mentorship and things like that Scott was mentioning earlier. And then there's also, lastly, the opportunity to collaborate and exchange ideas with the other cohort members in the other cities. And lastly, we got New York City program details. We have 10 organizations will participate, and that is an 18-month commitment to the program activities. And with that, you get a $10,000 grant for general support, and that one will as well come in two installments. The program details in New York involve an opportunity to develop a strategic plan for your organization, and you'll be guided by the program coordinator, Amanda, to set clear goals and objectives. There are 8 cohort learning sessions, so that's 2 in person and 6 virtual, and the topics, again, are dictated by the participants, and they're meant to meet your needs that you establish as members of the cohort. These learning sessions will begin in September of 2023, and you can expect a 2-hour meeting to be about every other month through October of 2024. Again, there's the 4 sessions of one-on-one check-ins with the program coordinator. There will be the peer-to-peer feedback and guidance from other professionals in New York. And then, again, the opportunity to collaborate and exchange ideas with the other city cohorts. I'm going to go over a little bit about eligibility. This is for all the locations. So New Music Inc. aims to serve as a catalyst for change, supporting collaborations and new ways of working, which assist organizations with long-term planning and sustainability. But this program does not aim to provide long-term financial support. Successful applicants in each city where the program has taken place may not apply again. So just think of it as like a one-time opportunity. Some more eligibility. You must have a 3-year work history, so been a collective or an organization for 3 years. Have an annual budget of under $250,000. Demonstration of financial stability, and then have the capacity to participate in the program fully, including staff and board resources. You know, we understand that that takes time to come to all these meetings. We just want to be upfront that this involves a time commitment. You have to be able to track and articulate outcomes and be able to contribute strongly to the cohort. And then lastly, be self-motivated, enthusiastic to work with others on their stated program challenges. And then just 2 more considerations for you. You don't have to be a 501c3 organization. You don't have to be a nonprofit to apply. And if you are a New York City applicant and you were in the initial new music capacity building program, you're not eligible to apply to this program. Like I said, the last slide, it's like a one-time opportunity. Thank you so much. I'll pass on to my coworkers.
Thanks, Krista. So a little bit about the review criteria for the program. There's a number of considerations that the panel will be taking into consideration when looking through the applications. The first has to do with the impact, quality, and breadth of programming and content that you are engaged in. The second is a history of performing or programming new music in your organization city. So you have a history, again, we're looking for at least 3 years of history performing or programming. Have a commitment to music by living music creators. So that makes sense. And then we will be looking at the role of the applicants in the applicant in their community, borough or neighborhood. What is your role? How do you fit in with the neighborhood and the community? And then we want you to be in a position to move to the next level through a track record of gradually building audiences, growing profile, and developing the organization. So we're interested in organizations that are at a critical stage or at a stage of development where a program like this would really benefit them getting to the next stage. Some guiding questions. So we'll go through each one of these criteria. These are just some guiding questions to think about for each of the criteria in terms of impact, quality, and breadth of programming content. Is programming relevant and inclusive of the communities that the organization serves? Is artistic exploration relevant and considered? What is the level of experience? Is there proficiency and mastery, etc.? For the history of performing or programming music in the organization city, this will be looking at in the application what it is, what your history is like, and what your engagement with the community is like. So do you demonstrate engagement with the community? This is we're interested in organizations that are involved in their community, in their cities, that are doing work there. So an organization that might be based in one of the cities but doesn't work regularly in the city or is often out of the city, that may be less competitive than organizations that are actively doing work in their community. Have a commitment to music by living music creators. So that would be demonstrated in your presenting and performing material, creating, whether that be you're creating new work or presenting or performing the new work. Is that done on a regular basis, not as part of your programming? And then role in the applicant's community, borough, and neighborhood. So we're interested in knowing if organizations engage in their community in a meaningful way, how this funding might increase or assist that impact, and why the organization is important and unique within their community. So what makes your organization unique in your community, and how is it involved in your community? So then in a position to move to the next level, we'll be looking at the materials to see if the organization demonstrates a readiness and strength to move to the next level. Is it at that stage? How cohesive is the organization? Is there financial stability? How will this program aid in that next level of development? So we're looking at organizations that can be, from different, let's see, how do I put it? They can be relatively new organizations or organizations that have been around for a while. But what we're looking for is really organizations that are at that kind of level where they're interested in moving to the next level or increasing, whether that be financial increasing, programmatic increases, things like that. So it's not necessarily about how old the organization is, but if they're at that right stage of development, ready to move to the next stage. And then just a few guiding principles for the program. New Music USA tries not to define what new music is. We're very much interested in hearing from organizations who are working with creators and artists and in any music or style or genre, and who are influencing the future of music creation and sound. We are aiming that applicant and awardee organizations be representative and reflective of the diversity of the creators and artists contributing to the music community in each location. So we want that to demonstrate the representation of the communities. And we look to recognize and work against the racial inequity that exists in the new music scene and increase recognition of BIPOC-led organizations within it. We aim to break down silos between different music genre practitioners and stimulate exchange and learning amongst diverse artist-led groups. We are interested in stimulating conversation and collaboration, not only within your community, but within the other cities as well, to make sure that we get beyond a siloing effect. We also hope to serve as a catalyst for change, collaboration, and new ways of working to support organizations in becoming more sustainable. And as mentioned, this is a one-time program. It does not offer repeat funding. And we anticipate that the needs of organizations will vary. So our learning program will vary according to those needs of the participants. So those are just a few of our guiding principles. And I'm going to turn it now to my colleague, Manisha, who will talk through the application process.
Hi, everyone. So I'll be talking about the application materials that are needed. You'll find our application on SM Apply. We'll provide the link information and then in the next few slides. But briefly, the application materials that we do need are the organizational and collective bio or mission statement, and that's limited to 150 words. We're trying to keep the applications simple for you. So you'll see, we're encouraging shorter answers here. We also would not like to have an outline of how you address equity, diversity, and inclusion within your collective or organization and programming. We also would like 2 to 3 work samples demonstrating the work of living creators. We also need to see a programming list that articulates the organization's role as presenters or promoters of new music. And then we would like to have some financial information, so your most recent budget, as well as your last year's financial statement or budget, however that means for you and what that fiscal year means to your collective or organization. So just to go in detail about the application material, as far as the questions are concerned, the narrative questions, they can be actually submitted in a written or video or audio. And again, the questions that come up in the application are the work that you do, including your commitment to music by living creators. Please explain how your approach is different or similar to other organizations, and that's limited to 150 words. You could describe how your collective or organization engages and includes the local community, and we'd like to know who, what, where, and the third question is the list the 3 biggest challenges for your organization at this time and explain why. That would be a limit to 250 words. And then also how this program includes how this grant is going to be used to build the capacity of your collective or your organization. And we would like you to summarize where the organization currently is in development and describe how it intends to use the funding. So as I was saying, that these questions can be submitted in a written format or a video or audio format. And if you do submit in a video or audio format, please make the video up to 5 minutes. And yeah, you could do a combo of some written and some audio and video. Now, what happens after you submit the application? Well, the applications will be first screened by the staff at New Music USA for eligibility and completeness. Then the applications will be moved forward to a peer review process that would be completed by panelists in each city. So each application, well, depending on which city you're submitting from, will have panelists from that city to review the applications. The panelists will review each application against each review criteria and provide a score. And we spoke about the review criteria earlier. The scores then will be averaged to create a ranked list from which a cohort of awarded organizations will be created. And then what is the commitment if you're awarded? So awardees are expected to participate in the program fully. And again, this will include the mandatory attendance of the cohort meetings. So yeah, it's 6 for Baltimore and 8 for Chicago and New York City. And these meetings will run every other month. And each of these meetings would be 2 hours at length. And then an engagement with at least 4 one-on-one session with the program coordinator. And these sessions will be 1 hour. And then engagement in at least 6 one-on-one sessions with the peer advisor. And those would be 1 hour sessions. And then of course, there's going to be time necessary to prepare a work plan. And that would be in the beginning of the program, a work plan or goals for the program. And you'll need time to implement the work plan and also to provide periodic feedback to us and updates about how it's going for you in the program. So there is a bit of a commitment in this program. And deadlines and timelines. So the application deadline is on June 12th at 11:59 Eastern time. Awards will be announced in mid-August, and the convenings will start every other month, and they'll start in September. That's when our first convening will be. Yep. And finally, this webinar and the Q&A from the webinar will be posted in our website and on our YouTube channel. And if we run out of time and don't answer all your questions in the call, we'll be working through your questions afterwards and post the answers after the event. So I guess it's time to answer some of these questions that are coming in right now.
Yeah, I wanted to real quickly speak a little bit about community. Stephen asked some questions about community, what we mean by community, and community is really would be defined by the applicant organization as to what they think their community is. I mean, the community could be the community of musicians or creators that you're engaged with. So maybe you're a presenter that brings in and curates performances and has a community there. That could be your community audience community, your community of donors, your community at large where you're located. So community really is something that I think you'll have to kind of define for yourself in terms of how you want to talk about, where your community is. It could take a lot of different places. And John asked if we could speak a bit more about how an organization can demonstrate cohesiveness, and that's a good question. I mean, the cohesiveness really, I mean, I would look at, the stability of the organization, stability of whether that be the musicians, could be how long you've been working. Cohesiveness is a little tough. I don't think that there may be a sort of a guiding question, but if I don't know if that's necessarily going to be something that is going to be, tick off real easily, because it's something that you're going to have to see from the application in terms of how the organization presents itself. Is there a formatting template example for the financial statement? We do have a template on the application site that you are welcome to use. You can also use your own financial formatting template. It's up to you. We didn't want to prescribe everyone to use the same thing because every organization is different, but you can certainly look at the template that we have there and modify it or use that one if you'd like. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, here's some more questions.
Question from Emily that says, what sorts of learning goals or topics are meant to be addressed in the meetings and coaching sessions? In the past, for example, we've addressed individual fundraising or institutional fundraising, board development, developing a strategic plan. We've also talked about equity, diversity, and inclusion, and what that means for each individual organizations. Yeah, so those were some of the topics that were that came up for our last cohort. Okay.
Can we explain a bit? Oh, Chris is typing that one. If an organization was not active for more than a year during the pandemic, can we provide previous year's financial information more than 3 years? Yeah, I mean that's fine. Use what makes sense in terms of that. And we know that the pandemic was challenging for a lot of organizations, most organizations, pretty much all organizations. So use what makes sense, but be clear in terms of that if you can. I know that Stephen's saying that our descriptive language leans in direction of organizational structure such as boards and staffs, but the guidelines indicate that ensembles groups may apply. You're an orchestra, 16 years working, bit more of the dynamics of that and how that connects with what we must submit and demonstrate. That's a good question. We are interested in organizations as well as, ensembles as well as organizations. I guess I'm not sure what you mean in terms of a bit more about the dynamics of that. I think if you speak to what your organization does and who you are as an organization, that will come through. And and that makes sense. But you know, you don't necessarily have to have a board. You have to be a 501c3. If you're a collective or an ensemble, you can speak to that community. You can speak to that structure, how that works for you. You can. It really just depends on your organization and what, how you get things done, and how you work as a quote unquote organization. I don't know if that answered your question. Sorry. Let's see. Are there other questions? Are there other questions? Anyone have other questions? We have plenty of time. And we are certainly taking questions at our grants@newmusicusa.org email address, or if you'd like to speak also more directly about a particular situation in your organization, please feel free to email us and we can reach out and have a conversation. I'm happy to do that. If what I'm saying right now may not make sense, I'm happy to get more into the specifics of your organization. If that works, I'm happy to do that. And as mentioned, we will have this posted on our YouTube channel. And we do have an FAQ up there, so hopefully that will answer some questions as well. How competitive do we anticipate this being? That's a good question. It depends on how many applications we get, obviously. We have a set number of awards that we'll give out for each city, and it really depends on how many we get. So for instance, when we did our initial capacity building program in New York, we received just around, maybe around 100 applications for the 10 spots. So that's about, 10%, 10% situation. I don't know exactly, since this is the first time that we've done this program, particularly like this. I'm not sure what to expect from any of the cities, to be honest with you, in terms of Baltimore or Chicago, where we've put the word out, but we're just now collecting applications, so it's hard to say. If as an organization we host events with different collectives, meaning we have a different budget per event, can we submit those instead of a financial statement? Yeah, I mean, however you present your budget, I guess, would be the best way to do that. However you present, however you track your finances, I think we'll be able to manage that. Are there examples of past recipients of the grant? I'm not sure if they're still on our website. Krista may have to say if they're still on our website, but the last time we did this was the New York City capacity building program, and there were 10 organizations that were awarded through that. They might still be on the capacity building, the New Music Inc. website page as well. Are there any other questions? We still have plenty of time. Just to confirm, more than one person can attend the meetings. Yes, in the cohort learning sessions, we can have representation from more than one person in the organization. That should be fine. Manisha's typing the answer. Any other questions? Our organization produces in-person and community events to support local BIPOC artists, and we are wondering if work samples should include the more collective community work, or if they can also include the individual work of artists who are running the organization and growing with the collective. That's a really interesting question. You should have opportunities for up to 3 work samples, so I would certainly feel free to demonstrate both in that area. Because if you're a collective, everyone's involved in this in a way in developing the organization. So I think that you should do both, or whatever you feel is strongest. That's the other thing, is whatever you think really demonstrates your organization and demonstrates the strength of your organization is how you should present it. Our panelists will review everything, but usually there's a lot in this application. There's a fair amount of text that they'll be getting through, and then listening to the music. So when you think about your work samples, definitely think about what best demonstrates your organization in terms of who you are and how you represent yourself and the work that you do. And you can submit work samples of any length. But if you do have sort of lengthy work samples, we ask that you could provide cue points for listening, because even though the panelists will be going through everything, their time is still relatively limited, and you want to really direct their attention at the points that you want them to listen to first. They often will go beyond that and listen to more, but it's as much as you can direct their attention, that would be best. So hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions? The work samples can be either video or audio. That's fine. I think you can provide links to YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud. You can upload MP3s or MP4s. You can upload movies, .mov stuff. So it's really it's up to you in terms of how you have it collected. So videos or audio is fine. Montage or full works? This is a good question, Robert. I would steer away from having all of your work samples be a montage, or clips or highlights. It's generally better to include full works, so that the panel can get a clearer sense. Although I think in this situation, if you had one that was a good highlight reel, I think that's fine. But I wouldn't do that for all of the work samples, or have that be your sole work sample. You're going to want to let the panelists get a sense of the organization's what they're doing. So I think you can do both. Is there a limit or preference to the length? No preference or limit to the length. As I said, just if you could provide cues if you have a lengthy work sample, so that you can direct the panel. Will New Music USA be highlighting the participating organizations throughout the 12 to 8 month time period through their website or social media? Ideally, yes, that will be the case. We'll be able to promote. And then there is some, we are hoping to have some collaboration across cities, where you'll get an opportunity to dialogue and potentially work with other organizations in other locations, or so we'll certainly want to highlight that as well. So we'll be working on that, and more details will be available once we have those those decisions made. Any other questions? Any other questions at all? Happy to answer anything. We still have a few minutes. I think my colleagues probably answered the question about programming, but yes, the programming list that you provide will be very helpful in getting a sense of what the organization does. It'd be great to see those. Any other questions?
Is there anything the funds can't be used for? Is the most recent question.
The funds are meant to be for the organization to use similar to general operating support. Obviously, there's a commitment involved in being a part of the program, so we want to provide financial support for the organization's commitment to the program. So there is, aside from that, there isn't really a limitation in terms of what the funds obviously has to be used for the organization and the organization's operations. But aside from that, it can be used however you want it to be used. But we wanted to provide not just the financial support, but also this additional support. Our education collectives projects welcome. Mine is online mostly, but also based in a city. Krista's typing an answer. I'm gonna let Krista answer that.
Do you think that the answer is if the mailing address is within the city limits and the organization is music focused, it should be okay? That's what I was going to type.
Yeah, I would want to know a little bit more about the organization, but I don't see any reason why not. We've had in the first new music capacity building program, we had organizations that were primarily education based, had a lot of education aspects to them, but that wasn't the sole type of organization. It was a wide range of organizations, from performance groups to a record label to some community engagement type music organizations. So it was a wide range of types of organizations involved in the program, and we'd like to maintain that. We want to be representative of the communities that we're providing support in. So Barbara, you're asked about our organization located in Baltimore County to apply. Let's talk about that. I want to know a little bit more where you're located and how we can do that. So I'm going to get your email from the registration, and I'll follow up with you. Are there some examples of ways organizations have used the grant funding in the past? That's a good question. One way, well, Manisha knows more. Manisha, you want to answer that question?
Sure. Hi. Yeah, some of the ways that the organizations have used the funding has, it's been part of their strategic plan. Sometimes they've, used it to hire someone to write grants, or they used money to help them support to become a 501c3. So yeah, it's pretty much up to what your organization needs at the moment. and
Yeah, a lot of organizations, they kind of put it towards the program in terms of maybe hiring a part-time staff member, whether that be a grant writer or maybe somebody who does scheduling or somebody who does other aspects. It could also be used towards a fundraising campaign or a marketing campaign. Be used in a lot of different varieties of ways. You use it to pay your rent. It can be used pretty much however helps the organization function and participate in the program. So there are a lot of different ways to do it, to use the funds. Is there a bias towards composed notated work, fixed compositions? We perform original work, orchestra work that is structured in a moment, using written material and many of conducted hand symbols. Stephen, there's no bias towards whether it be notated or written down or improvised or other. We are hopeful that the organizations that are in this group are representative of the different types of genres and different types of musical styles and approaches that are out there working right now. There's no like review of scores or anything like that. So it's really it's really as much meant to be as open as possible. So there's no bias there. And our panelists will reflect the community at large as well. Our aim is to have a panel of 5 that will, as best as we can, be representative of the area musical community, whether that be Chicago, Baltimore, or New York City. So we're looking to have a diverse viewpoint of diverse set of viewpoints in making these decisions. So. We just have a few more minutes, so I don't know if anyone has any last burning questions. As I mentioned, you can always email us at grants@newmusicusa.org. If we're not caught up yet, we're pretty close to being caught up on that. Sometimes it may take us a day or two to get to you, so don't fret if you don't hear from us. We will get back to you, and the sooner, I mean, obviously questions come up whenever, but the closer we get to the deadline, and sometimes it gets there's a little bit more crunch, but and we're happy to answer any questions. And if you'd like to speak to one of us directly, just let us know, email us, and we'll set up a call, because I know each organization is different and unique, and maybe it's easier just to talk through some stuff. Happy to do that. Is there a thought of connecting participants city to city? Might we be building a network? Yes, Stephen, we are hoping to connect participants between the participating cities. There will be, the idea is that the cohort meetings, there will at least be 2 meetings out of the cohort meetings that will involve all the cities together, or pairs of cities. So, and there'll be some level of exchange that we're cultivating or working on. Would we consider a defunct ensemble and stop because of no income or funding? We are looking for organizations that have been operating for a minimum of 3 years, at least recently. If the organization had been working in the past and gone defunct and just now starting up again, I'm not sure. We'd have to discuss that. But we are looking for organizations that sort of have at least a track record over the last 3 years or so. Keeping in mind COVID and all those sorts of things. Have organizations used the grant funding in the past towards specific artistic programming, such as an artist residency? Um, Not in the most, not in this last iteration, but that doesn't mean you can't use it for that. They could certainly be used for that. You know, we've only so far done this once, so the funding in the last one would, I don't think anybody used it necessarily for that purpose, but it doesn't mean you can't. Um, 3 more minutes. Thanks, Denny, for sharing the link. I'm familiar with your ensemble, so glad to hear you'll be submitting. Any last minute questions? 2 minutes, under 2 minutes to go. Thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate your time, taking the time to talk to us. It's good to hear from you, and I'm glad you're interested in the program. We hope it will be impactful to the organizations that are involved and the community, and hopefully we can involve more as funding permits. Let's hope. All right. Well, I think unless there are any last minute questions, I'm going to wrap up and say thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing your applications come through, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.